On tonight's episode of the CHGO Cubs-related podcast, the Cubs drop another series. They've lost 5 of 7 series. The offense is still missing in action. We'll talk about that. We'll talk Cade Horton, Matt Shaw, Owen Caissie, big debut. Plenty to talk about on tonight's edition of the CHGO Cubs-related podcast. This is the CHGO Cubs-related podcast driven by Toyota. Let's go places and bet 365. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary. Use code CHGO365 at sign up. Hello, everyone. My name is Corey. I am joined this week by Kevin Wells, the wonderful Kevin Wells, filling in for Dr. Brendan Miller, who, can we blame him, Kevin, for not wanting to talk about the Chicago Cubs right now?
I mean, he's going through it just like the rest of us are. I'm sure he's, sometimes you need a break. I took a break from the Cubs this week. I went to see a movie instead of watching the first game of the series, and I'm glad that I did that. So enjoy your little break, Brendan. It's
whatever.
needed.
Yeah. Anything at this point is better than watching the Chicago Cubs offense.
Yeah.
If you are here live in the YouTube chat, hello, we appreciate you. Hop in the chat, drop the comments. We are reading them. We will discuss them. If you're listening later on your podcast feed, we appreciate you as well. The Cubs drop the series in Toronto. They lose the first game 5-1. They win the second game 4-1, and they drop the finale here earlier on Thursday 2-1. And Kevin, I think really simply, it's the offense right now. In this episode, this is not going to be an hour of yelling and doom and gloom or anything. We will talk about the offense. We will talk about Kyle Tucker's struggles. We'll talk about PCA's struggles. We'll talk about, maybe changes in the lineup, et cetera, but don't want to get lost in the shuffle later in the show. Continuing to highlight a dominant stretch from Cade Horton, only in this series giving up his first run in over 27 innings. Matt Shaw continuing the surge that he is on, just ripping pull homers and looking really, really good at the plate. Owen Caissie being called up, making his debut. So there is good stuff to talk about, Kevin, but at the outset, I don't think that's what people want to hear about. I think what people want to hear about is this offense and where it has gone. And I think more importantly, like we were talking before we hopped on, Kevin, I think the perspective that I look at this, and I mentioned this a little last week, I am as frustrated as anybody. We have watched this team piss away playoff chances in the last few years, and that was preceded by years of not even making the playoffs. So I am as frustrated as anyone. But I look at it all in like, how do they turn it around? There's 40 games left. They have a 5-game lead on a playoff spot. I want them to make the playoffs. And is making the playoffs and getting knocked out early or anything, like that's not my goal coming into the season. But for now, a playoff spot is still on the table. They got to turn it around, and they have time to do it. So that's sort of the lens that I look at this from. But this is incredibly frustrating watching this offense put up 1 or 2 runs every night. And since I believe in the month of August, this team is the second worst offense in baseball.
It's hard to watch right now. There's no question. It's hard to watch the middle of your order fail in big moments. It's hard to watch Dansby Swanson not be able to get a hit with guys in scoring position. It's hard to watch Kyle Tucker throw his helmet down the hallway in the dugout. You never want to see your star player and one of the leaders of your team that frustrated, because that energy is contagious. And what you're witnessing right now is an entire team slump. We've been witnessing that for weeks. 40 games left, a little bit over 40 games left. There is time to figure this out. The Cubs, they're still on a 91-game win pace right now. That's good. You got to win 90 games. You got to win 90 games. 90 games is the doorway to the postseason. Every team that has won 90 games since the playoff merger and adding that extra wild card spot has made the postseason since 2022. 91 wins is cutting it close. This team was on a much higher win pace a couple of months ago, as we all know. They came back to earth a little bit. The truth and teams are always somewhere in the middle, right? The Cubs are not this bad, and they weren't as good as they were before. I'd like to see that win percentage kind of tick up a little bit. I'd like to see them finish with around 93, 94 wins, a couple extra ones to give themselves some space here, because what you're looking at right now is you're 4 games up on the Dodgers. You're 4 games up on the wild card. You're about a half game up on LA right now for the second wild card spot. If you want to host a wild card series, you got to finish in that top spot. You want to not be on the road. You're looking down essentially right now. And I think that's where the pressure's coming into play. And that's why frustration in a game like tonight, where it's a 1-run game, you get an absolute gem from Matthew Boyd. You have some guys who are hitting the cover off the ball and getting on base and giving your team chances, stealing. You're doing some things right on the margins, but these games are being amplified because of the pressure you're now on, because you're looking down at the Cincinnati Reds, who are a game out of a postseason spot. Thank God the Mets are going through it right now.
Yeah, Dodgers too.
Yeah, thank God for that, because if not for that, had those two teams played like they had in the first half, the Cubs are probably on the brink of not looking to be in the postseason. That's how strong the National League was to start the year, and I think that just amplifies where we are. The Brewers are running away with it because they're on a streak that is pretty unprecedented. They've won 12 straight games. The last time they did that was 1987. I mean, just to put that in perspective, 12-game winning streaks are so rare in Major League Baseball. I mean, that just doesn't happen. So you got to tip your cap, and you got to make your own luck. So they're going to win this division. I think I'm pretty confident in saying that. There is time. But I'm focused on the Cubs hosting a wild card playoff series right now, winning the wild card, staying in that top slot. And when you squander opportunities to win gem opportunity games that you've been given by Matthew Boyd in his last 2 starts, it's unbelievably frustrating.
Well, and what bothered me too, and this isn't on Matthew Boyd at all, but hearing him in the press conference, he's a stand-up guy. That seems clear. Our guy Jared Willis wrote a really great piece at ALLCHGO.com talking about some of him and his family's philanthropic work that I would encourage you to check out. Just seems like a really great family and a really great guy. And I don't expect him to do any different. But boy, does it bother me to have your starting pitcher up there after a performance like he gave today, taking accountability for the loss. That's what the offense did. None of those guys should be looking him in the eye when they're on that plane back to Chicago, because you should not have your starting pitcher, after throwing a gem, he made one mistake in this game, and he's got to go up there and eat crow for this game. That is, the offense put him in that position. I don't expect him to do any different, because that's who Matthew Boyd is. And I expect all these starters to feel like they could have done better. John Lester would be up there saying the same thing,
100%.
Right? The offense only gave me 1 today, but I should have made it work. Of course they're going to say that. But the offense keeps putting these pitchers in this position. I mean, Cade Horton, even in the game that they won, you felt every night lately over the last few weeks, it feels like they have zero margin for error as we're watching these games. And I hate that I feel this way, man. But as soon as the other team puts up 2 runs, 3 runs, I'm looking at it going oh man, are they going to be able to do it tonight? Because we just have not seen them do it with any consistency. So I don't expect the top guys to perform this poorly. You're seeing, obviously, Michael Busch showing signs of life here. He previously had been really the worst hitter in this lineup since the All-Star break. Couple homers here. Hopefully he's getting back to form. Seiya barreling the ball more after a period of looking pretty lost in some of those games. PCA struggling, but a lot of that has just been the month of August. And we're going to talk about Kyle Tucker in length probably when we get out of the first ad break. That'll change. They're not going to stay in this funk exactly as it is. They're not going to be a bottom 2 offense in this league for the rest of the season. But as you said, you're just squandering so many good pitching performances, and it goes along with, and I said this too, hand up. We came on our podcast after the trade deadline. We talked about not acquiring another starter, not acquiring a super high leverage reliever to go along with Daniel Palencia, and that was the miss. Best starting rotation in the league since then. This starting rotation, and they'll have hurdles, durability issues, don't just go away, whatever. But since then, they have not been the problem. They've been excellent almost every single night, giving you a chance to win and pitching as well as you could possibly ask them to pitch. And they're not, it's not like they're playing 20 games under 500, but when you're getting that performance out of this rotation, you have got to be locking in more wins, and they are just wasting good pitching performances every single night, and in such frustrating manner. Kevin, runners on second and third, best hitters in the lineup coming out, strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. It feels like it's every game. 40 games left, but they gotta get themselves out of this funk quickly.
Yeah, the low point of the season offensively was the 8th inning today, this afternoon. In my opinion, it has not felt lower than that moment. And
yeah,
while I believe that Kyle Tucker will get out of this because he has shown that he's an elite hitter,
as long as he's not hurt, which we just have no idea. But I don't even know at this point.
We know. I don't think anybody knows except for Jed and company and Kyle himself. But I have faith that Kyle Tucker is going to get out of this. It's just right now when he's not hitting, I mean, none of this seems to matter. I'm super disappointed in the veteran hitters on this team. I am pretty. I think a lot of people are acting pretty hypocritical online with Craig Counsell and telling everyone that he needs to change up the lineup, and then they're complaining about the changes in the lineup. So I want to just get out there and say that while his mistakes are being magnified because they're not getting enough offense, he's far from to blame for a lot of this stuff. I mean, you want him to change the lineup. He changed the lineup today, put Ian Happ in the 2-hole. Ian Happ's been an above average league hitter since the All-Star break, and he hammered a couple balls today. I want to get to the sack bunt. That was horrendous. But the lineup itself was changed, and Counsell's pushing some buttons. I said it a couple nights ago. They needed to call up Caissie and Ballesteros to give guys a little bit more plug-and-play option. Now, I don't know if they would have done it if Amaya didn't get hurt. Probably not. They're probably not pushing that button right away, but I'm glad that it happened because Caissie worked a couple full counts today. Looked good there. He hit the ball hard. You said Michael Busch. You mentioned him. He hit a couple balls over 100 miles an hour today, including the home run. That looks to be trending in the upward direction. It's the same actors right now who are killing the lineup. It's Dan Swanson and Kyle Tucker. Two guys that really just you can't have both of your veteran leaders, World Series champions, going through it for this long. It can't, because that is contagious. And
on the lineup stuff, and maybe we'll get into this more when we talk about Tucker as well. Like, I'm fine if they want to move stuff around. And we've seen him try some weird stuff. I think it was maybe a week ago, you had Justin Turner high up in the order. He was messing around with some stuff. I think it was the day that Tucker fully had off, that day game against the Reds, maybe. Like, I have a bit of trepidation on messing with Matt Shaw. He's your hottest hitter, but I would probably at least understand the logic of he's 23. He's gone through a ton this season. He's shown you a ton of mental fortitude, and he will need to be challenged going forward in his season. But he breaks camp with the team, struggles, goes down, comes back, struggles, sits out that Yankees series, adjusts his swing mid-season, and now is on a total heater. There's part of me that's like, is that because he's got less pressure in the 9 spot? I don't know. But if they believe that, I'm kind of fine being like, well, I don't know if I want to mess with that. But of course, when he's one of the only guys hitting, I get the impetus to want that. Fine, if they want to do that. Put Nico and Shaw at the top of the order tomorrow. Move everybody around. I agree. Carson Kelly's not a 4-hitter. That's a Jed problem, not a Craig Counsell problem. because I'm waiting for the answer of who should be the 4-hitter right now. And there's problems with everybody in this lineup, except for a couple guys over the last few weeks. The point I would make, though, about the lineup, if the main guys don't get right, inconsistent, you can put Kyle Tucker in the 8 spot, brother. You can put Seiya Suzuki in the 7 spot. If those guys don't get right and hit consistently and help drive this lineup, none of this matters.
Correct.
Write the lineup however you want. Put it any way you want to do it. None of it matters if those guys don't perform to the level you need them. We're just spinning our wheels on a useless exercise. So I know it gets tiring to hear Craig say, guys got to hit, they're going to hit, things like that. Trust me, like, I get it, but he's not wrong. If Kyle Tucker is not Kyle Tucker and Seiya Suzuki or PCA don't break out of it, and some of them are, posting, 10 WRC pluses over 3-week stretches, what difference does it make? They're going to go into LA and beat them in the playoffs? No, they're not. Like, so I try something different tomorrow, try something different for a week. It's fine by me. But if those guys don't get right, none of it matters. We're going to talk more in depth about Kyle Tucker when we get back in a moment here. First, we do have to hit our first ad breaks, and we will be back in just a moment. Our first sponsor, Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. One-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. Sunnyside has an expertly curated menu with over 100 strains to choose from, plus easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Sunnyside is Illinois' favorite dispensary, with locations in the city, of course, right across the street on beautiful historic Wrigley Field in Wrigleyville and River North, and all the way in the suburbs, Champaign, South Beloit, and more. If you're starting out, Sunnyside has expert guidance and brands that we know you will love, like Good News and Mindy's. If you're a pro, they've got you covered too, with over 100 strains on the menu and new ones added daily. Visit sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 and older or Illinois Med card holders. And for existing users, use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Labs item.
We may only have a month left of meteorological summer here in Chicago, but that last month's still going to be hot, folks. It's going to be 90 degrees on Saturday again. So make sure your home's air conditioning is up for the challenge. Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric has been serving Chicagoland for over 50 years. And now's the time to get your AC checked out if you haven't already. Four Seasons experts are ready to help you with your AC installation, maintenance, and repair. 2024, the hottest year on record in Chicago. 2025 been pretty hot as well. We've had some really hot stretches here. The heat index reached 114 last year at O'Hare. When it's that hot and humid, you want to know your home is going to be cool and comfortable. Just because you have to sweat out the Cubs game doesn't mean you need to sweat in your house. Schedule your Four Seasons AC tune-up today. Save $50. Enjoy a 1-year no-breakdown guarantee. Save up to $4,000 on new comfort systems with Four Seasons. New AC units, $39 a month. AC furnace combos, just $57 a month. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. It's fourseasonsheatingcooling.com.
All right, folks, back with you. Let's talk about Kyle Tucker, Kevin. Now, I'll start the conversation just by saying we don't know about the finger. Like, I don't know. We keep saying that. We're not going to know. They're not going to tell us. Kyle Tucker doesn't want to hit the injured list ahead of a big free agency. He doesn't want to, have that injury on the books. He doesn't want to be performing like this, and we just don't know. Did it not affect him for that first month in June and then tweak his mechanics? I really don't know. And I don't bring that up to give him like an out, right? But it's clearly potentially something that matters in the conversation. But we're never going to get, I don't think, true clarity on it. Maybe in the offseason, they'll admit it, like a hockey player after the Stanley Cup Finals. It's like, oh, yeah, I was playing with a broken leg. But in this moment, we're not going to know. The fact of the matter, though, is since July 1st, Kyle Tucker has a 597 OPS and an 83 WRC plus. Walk rate still pretty good, 343 on base percentage, not where he would like it to be, but relative to his 202 batting average, it's certainly not the worst thing in the world. You take those numbers into August, and a 417 OPS and a 26 WRC plus and a 0 isolated power rating, Kevin. Look, any way you draw it up, and I say this as someone who loves the guy. You guys have heard me on this podcast. I love Kyle Tucker. And right now, I don't care about the contract in the offseason, right? The 2025 Cubs need a better Kyle Tucker. Whether he is hurt or not, they need him to be the superstar. I said this, I think, last week or a couple weeks ago. Heavy is the head that wears the crown, right? He is the guy. They traded a huge price to get him. He is going to command a huge contract in the offseason, whether it's, it was $500 million and now it's 400. It doesn't matter right now. We'll see in the offseason. But he was traded to be the man. He's going to ask to be the man in the offseason. And this team was built to succeed with him as the man. You saw it in those first few months of the season, what having a 920 OPS kind of guy was doing for this lineup. It lifted everybody up and it helped them avoid stretches exactly like this one, where you felt like the offense couldn't do something, at least on a nightly basis. He was giving you something, a couple walks, an extra base hit, etc. The extra base hits, Kevin, have disappeared. And that's why I say when we're talking about the lineup, move everybody around, shuffle the chairs, throw new guys in there. If Kyle Tucker does not get right, whether it's because of the injury or not, if it's because of the injury, then who knows? Does that get better? I have absolutely no idea. It might not. If it's not, he's gone, guys slump, and hopefully he gets out of it. I believe firmly if he is healthy and the finger is not a thing and it's not messing with him, he will come out of it. He will turn it around. And how much of these 40 games he'll play like it, I don't know, but he will play like the superstar that we came to know earlier in the season if he's healthy. But it's a mess right now, Kevin, and the team is really hard pressed to succeed without him playing at that level.
It's hard to watch because I didn't think that Kyle Tucker was capable of a slump like this. I've been following Kyle Tucker for years. I watched him as a rookie in the playoffs with the Astros and years after that, and how just impressive he was in his plate appearances and his build, like everything that he did in the game. He was just, I just have never seen a guy of his caliber slump for this long. I mean, one home run in a month and a half is just uber concerning. And it leads me to believe that there is something we don't know, but I don't know. We don't know. We're not in that room, but it just seems it's so out of character for him. It's such an outlier for his career numbers. But the fact of the matter is, if you're not hitting, you need a mental break. Maybe sit him down for a couple games, go get a massage, do some therapy, sit in a dark room, whatever you need to do to just kind of get your mind off of baseball for a little bit. Maybe that would help. But here's the thing. You and I don't know Kyle Tucker personally. Nobody on Cubs Twitter knows Kyle Tucker personally. Maybe a couple people do. But when Craig Counsell's managing superstars, you have to manage them and treat them like they've been through this before. And you can't be parent to child. You have to do this and you'll get right. That's just not how baseball works. Craig Counsell has to manage this situation adult to adult and say, listen, we're going to keep throwing you out there because we have to. And if you want to keep going out there, you're Kyle Tucker. You're going to have to keep going out there. I know that the struggles are immense right now, and maybe moving him down in the lineup is a thing, but maybe Kyle Tucker doesn't want that either. Maybe he's telling Craig, listen, I just have to go through this.
Yeah. And people don't want to hear that, but it might be the case.
But that's managing superstars. It's more than just the on-field play. It's also the attitude and the mental fortitude that goes into being a baseball player. It's not just as simple as sit him down for a couple days. As much as I want to sit here and say, oh, just give him a mental break, bring up Ballesteros, which I said to do. Maybe Kyle Tucker doesn't want that, and maybe that will make him feel worse and make things worse. You have to listen to the player in these situations, and Craig is doing that, and he's putting him out there. Now, in terms of where he's at statistically, I don't think that you can continue to pencil him in every single game. I think you're going to have to get creative with, if certain pitchers come up and he has numbers against him, you're going to maybe be more liberal in trying to pinch hit him. I don't know if they'll move him down in the lineup. Again, Craig he's been moving the lineup around a lot lately. I don't know if he would consider moving Tucker out of the top 4. I suppose maybe it's on the table. Maybe everything's on. We don't know. It's yet to be seen. But without Kyle Tucker in the middle of this lineup, with him continuing to be bad, play, especially today in that 8th inning, I mean, just one of his worst at bats of the season. It's just downright demoralizing for everybody in that dugout. And I think that is being felt right now by everybody in that dugout. When your leaders, when your veteran leaders, the guy making the most coin on the team, are not pulling their freight and they are struggling and they're showing their emotions, which I don't blame them, by the way. I'm an emotional guy. When I'm mad, I'm going to show it. And especially in sports, like I did it all the time playing baseball. I can't imagine on that level where that you have to be the guy and you're not being the guy. Like the pressure on him has got to be immense right now. So when he's struggling and throwing his helmet, that presence is being felt throughout the dugout. No doubt about it. When PCA's throwing his helmet and he's struggling too, it's correlated for sure. And I don't think it continues. I have faith that Kyle Tucker will get out of this thing. He hit the ball pretty hard yesterday off a very good starting pitcher in Kevin Gossman, who has been doing it for a decade and is one of the best pitchers in the American League this year. So there are things that are going. The walks could be better. But at the end of the day, you put it best. If he's not putting the ball over the wall, none of this really matters. He has to do it. There's nobody else in the organization that can do what he does. Owen Caissie can fill a little bit of a void. Ballesteros can come up and give you that big hit like he did in Milwaukee, and I think he'll have another cup of coffee in September and probably give you some nice at-bats. But those guys are not Kyle Tucker. And Kyle Tucker he's the key to everything at this moment in time.
Yeah. And if they want to mess with the order, fine, play around with it. He's hitting 3rd more than, previously, mostly hitting 2nd, stuff like that. But at the end of the day,
I wonder if his launch, I wonder if the finger thing I keep hearing about, if he's not able to elevate the baseball, because if his finger really is hurt and he's not able to elevate the baseball, maybe he's trying too hard to, shorten up and poke it out there. Maybe that's causing him to swing and miss a little bit more. There's a lot of mechanical things that just don't seem to be adding up. Like the bat speed is slowed down. There's a lot of stuff that just does not, when you look at his numbers from the first half of the year and last year, the year before, it's odd. It's very odd. So maybe there is something to that.
It's a wonky stretch. And without the full color on a potential injury and stuff like that, it's really hard to say. Again, the key to it though is he obviously has not been good enough. Whether that is related to an injury or not, we'd love to have all the information so we can properly attribute these things, but the reality is he has not been good enough for a couple months now, unfortunately, to where this team needs him to be and to the standard that he has put up throughout his career in Major League Baseball. And I think when you look, Brendan and I talked about this last week, but it's true, even I know, Pete is obviously frustrated. People talking today about him not getting that pinch hit spot. In the month of August, Pete has a negative 52 WRC plus, right? Horrendous. He's got a 193 OPS, but the key difference though is Pete is always going to be a somewhat volatile hitter. Even though his chase rate has come down, he's still, even if you think just in a raw comp that people always talk with Javi, hitters like that are going to have slumps. You're going to have to get used to it. Pete can be a 7-win player every year. And mind you, he is still a top 5 wins above replacement guy in baseball right now. So let's not lose sight of the bigger picture of an incredible year that Pete is putting together. He's 23. He's got a volatile hitting profile. Like, he's going to have stretches like this. The difference with Tucker is everybody slumps. So Tani slumps, Aaron Judge slumps, etc. And they'll be to varying degrees. But Kyle Tucker's got the pedigree. Kyle Tucker's got the pedigree and the track record that you were trying to avoid month or 2-month long stretches like this. So like I said, you want to be the superstar, you want to be the guy, you want to go out and be getting a $400-500 million contract. This is what comes along with it. You are going to wear the weight of a team-wide slump, your own slump, and it's going to be directed at you a lot more directly because you are the guy. You were brought in to be the guy. You want to be the guy. And right now, he has not been that guy. But
PCA's WRC plus really minus 52? Is that legit? Holy cow.
In the month of August, yeah, unless Fangraphs is lying to me.
Wow, I didn't know it was that bad.
That'll happen. You learn something new every day. We got to hit our second ad break here, but yeah, I mean, finishing, and I see it in our YouTube chat as well. Like, you can move stuff around. Craig can say whatever. I see so much like, they want more emotion from him, whatever. I firstly on that, I would caution you, like, him yelling at Kyle Tucker is certainly not that's not something that anyone is interested in. But we also don't know what happens behind closed doors. We don't know how Craig holds his team accountable. We don't know what those conversations are like when they're working with the coaches and stuff like that. And I think that's good. I get wanting to see the emotion, but that's how stuff like this turns into a circus. Like, you don't want Craig throwing stuff in the dugout. That's how this whole thing spirals even worse. The Cubs are the joke of the league. Whatever they're doing behind closed doors, I'm sure Craig holds his players accountable, and there's stuff going on behind the scenes. But regardless, move the lineup, throw a garbage can, get ejected, do whatever. It does not matter if the hitters don't perform. And ultimately, I don't think that Craig has that magic switch to just make that happen. I understand when you set a record for how much a manager is being paid, that people are going to ask those questions, and that's warranted. Like, again, comes with the territory. You want to be the big dog and make $8 million a year. Fans are allowed to say, hey, is this guy capable of fixing this? But Kyle Tucker's got a hit, man. I wish there was a magic button. I wish there was something that Craig could just do. You know what I mean? Or like, I don't know if other people think like, could Pat Murphy get Kyle Tucker out of it? Like, no, dude, Kyle Tucker has a 6-7 year pedigree of being a star in this league. Why isn't he hitting for the last 2 months? I don't know, but he just has to be better. As simple as that sounds. So that's the key. And this team is not built to do much without Justin Steele and with Kyle Tucker being a league average hitter. That's just the reality. The one thing isn't going to change. The other possibly can. So we're going to have to hope that Kyle gets out of it and is healthy and returns to being a superstar. More on the Chicago Cubs in a minute. We got to hit our second ad break here and thank our wonderful sponsors. Our first sponsor is Toyota. At Toyota's national sales event, we've got a long lineup of vehicles for summer fun. 4Runners and off-road icon. The Tundra hauls it all with its twin turbo engine, and the Tacoma takes adventure straight to the top. You want to ride with sizzling hot style and efficiency? The all-hybrid Camry is revving and ready to ride. Visit your local Chicagoland Toyota dealer or toyota.com today. Toyota, let's go places. And it is always a good time to become a CHGO diehard and upgrade your fandom. You get access to exclusive written content at allchgo.com, a free t-shirt, and plenty of discounts on future merch and events, plus access to the CHGO Discord Lounge, where we all hang out and talk Chicago sports and much more. You can visit allchgo.com for the latest information on how you can join the thousands of CHGO diehards in our community. We can't wait to connect with you on an even greater level.
Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. New customers, you get $150 in bonus bets when you just put down $5. Win or lose. Sign up. Use the code CHGO365. Deposit $10 into your account. Place a bet for $5. Get $150 in bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. One of my favorite things about Bet365 is the MLB early payout offer. So with the Bet365 early payout, you're a winner if your team goes ahead by 5 runs. Instant payout on straight bets and parlay selections marked as winners. So download the app, use code CHGO365 when you sign up. Breaking news from Bet365. New customers, 150 in bonus bets when you put down $5. Win or lose. Sign up. CHGO365 is the code. Deposit $10. Place a bet for 5. Get 150 bonus bets if your bet wins or loses. Bonus bets can be used on the spread, used on totals, player props, futures, and more. Whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. You must be 21 and up. If someone you know or someone you have around you has a gambling issue, make sure you call Crisis Counseling and Referral Services. You can do that by using the number 1-800-GAMBLER. That is in-app only.
All right, folks, and pairing off our Die Hard conversation, want to remind you that we do have 2 rooftop events coming up with the 120 Club pregame at Murphy's Bleachers. The first is tomorrow on Friday, the 15th, against the Pittsburgh Pirates, and then again on the 18th against the Milwaukee Brewers. 2 games for the price of 1. You can still check it out and get to that game tomorrow on Friday against the Pirates. Visit allchgo.com/events for more information.
It's going to be beautiful tomorrow.
Hot, but yes.
Yeah. You might have a little rain on Sunday, but Saturday for the game, it'll be nice, warm, and sunny.
Well, and hopefully, Kevin, we need, not that I want to help the Pirates offense. We need like 30-mile-an-hour winds blowing straight out, right? Everybody just hit it up into the jet stream. Give me one day with a bunch of crooked numbers, and let's see if that kind of breaks everybody out of this slump.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice to start seeing some of the guys in the middle of the order hit the ball over the wall. A little confidence builder for sure. I think a little home cooking against the Pirates could do you some good. I do want to see them go on a bit of a win streak here. They've lost 3 straight series. They haven't been swept yet this year, which is a positive. But there's been no significant win streak. And with the rest of, now that you're done with the Blue Jays, which is they've been a top 5 team in baseball all year, a very formidable opponent, whom you probably could have beaten 2 out of 3.
Yeah.
Arguably should have with the pitching that you got today. It's time for the Cubs to go on a run, and I think that they can start that this weekend. I think Owen Caissie is going to get quite the ovation when he enters Wrigley Field. I think some of the young guys really could be the key here to powering this offense forward, Corey. I think even though Matt Shaw is in the 9 hole, and I do have qualms with that, I know it's a little bit different. I understood. Me and your guy Matt Clapp were talking about that on Twitter after the game today, kind of about how, well, if he's comfortable in the 9 hole, maybe leave him there. I would like to see him get moved up a couple slots. I'm not calling him in the top 5 or whatever, but I think some of the young guys getting, the Wrigley faithful into it could be the key to getting on a win streak here, especially as some of your veterans are just scuffling and trying to get back on track here. But it's not going to be easy. The Pirates, they just got absolutely whopped by the Brewers. So they're not going to want to continue to lose games. They're going to probably be tired of that. I mean, the Brewers just absolutely pummeled them for 3 straight games. Pirates took a lead. Brewers took it back. Pirates clawed a little bit closer. Brewers put up 6 more runs late in the game and just put them to bed. I mean, so and they could also be super out of it coming into Wrigley tomorrow. Who knows? But this team needs a win streak, and with the Pirates being in town, that's a pretty good opponent to try to get right on.
I think, like I said, I don't know if I have more to say on the offense. Again, like you need the guys that were driving this offense, and something, again, Brendan and I talked about, I think a week ago, like it's okay that Michael Busch has periods where he struggles or needs to adjust or has a bit of a slump. Like this is his 2nd full year in the league. He's a younger player, and he's performed incredibly for you this year.
Great, yeah.
Seiya Suzuki has looked totally lost for periods, barreling the ball more recently. But, again, like, what is it? His 3rd full season here in the majors. PCA, his 2nd, or his first season, like really like having the job to himself and being out there as a 23-year-old, there are going to be some ups and downs. But ultimately, you need it to not all happen at the same time, like it has for, the last month or so. And you need them to turn it around quickly. Because again, like we can lament this stretch. We can obsess over what have they lost to the Brewers? 15 games in the last like 3 months or something insane. We can lament that. We'll have a whole off season to talk about that, and we'll see how that 5-game series goes. But like, little inside baseball, if you're wondering what my perspective is, I was watching the Brewers every night, either on MLB TV or on game day. I'm not doing that anymore. So
I'm still watching them. They're a good team, man. Like
I can't do it anymore, Kevin. I can't.
They are a team that they are a completely different team than they were early on in the year.
Yeah.
And I did think that this was interesting, and this is a point to bring up, is a lot of, there's luck in baseball no matter where you go. The Brewers are playing great ball right now. They're getting the reason they're winning is because they can say this. They're getting contributions from every single guy on that team, 1 through 26 right now. No other team in baseball can say that at this moment in time. Every single guy on that roster is playing and making the most of their opportunities. But that doesn't mean they're not getting lucky. They're getting lucky at the same time. There's luck in baseball. Every team gets lucky. Like that happens. Like that is part of the game of baseball. So, you got to tip your cap to them. And the Cubs still have played them very well this year. The Cubs just came off a series in which the Blue Jays are a World Series contender. And all 3 of those games were hard-fought games. The first game was all Blue Jays, but it wasn't a blowout. Today wasn't a blowout. These are playoff-like atmosphere games that the Cubs are hanging around in. Those are all positive signs. It's not all gloom and doom. It's really not. The offense is pathetic right now, but they're still hanging around in these games because they have really good starting pitching. So,
and I think, again, like we can, be upset about that. But for me, again, there's 40 games left. This team is currently in a playoff spot, and I want them to make the playoffs. I want them to make the playoffs. I want them to get in there and see if they can mess around. Do I feel super confident about them winning a wild card series and beating the Brewers in the playoffs, or, going through the Phillies? Of course not. How could I look all of you in the eye and say, oh yeah, totally. Like that's what's going to happen. Like just be confident, everybody. But at the same time, like they would be a playoff team. They have a 5-game lead on a playoff spot with 40 games to go. It is not where I wanted to be in terms of adjusting the expectations, but let's go. You got to make the playoffs. If this is the hand that you're now dealing with, right? Figure it out. Get it together, figure it out, and lock up that playoff spot and see if you can mess around. And hopefully come a month for now, like you are, yes, Niran, sorry about that. I always mix up how long Seiya has been playing, even though I'm wearing the shirt. Sometimes I just totally forget what year it is. But like, my expectations have changed, and I wish they didn't, right? Like I wanted them to win the division. I was focused on getting a bye like a month ago or a month and a half ago. Like things have shifted, but making the playoffs is still part of the goal, and trying to be in a better place, right? Hopefully in a month, we don't care how they looked in Toronto on the offense. We don't care that they lost 5 of 7 series. We don't care that they lost 3 series in a row. We care that in a month, is Kyle Tucker cooking again? Does Seiya look like that middle of the order threat? Does Michael Busch look back to that guy who appeared to be like really coming into his own in this, second year for him, and seeing if they can make some noise in the playoffs? And I know that that's not what anybody wants to hear right now, but reality of it, and 40 games left, let's figure it out. So I want to start in that vein with some positives to finish this podcast. And I do want to continue talking about one Matt Shaw, and we will take the temp on Matt Shaw. And that, of course, is our segment presented by your trusted local experts at Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. Again, that is fourseasonsheatingcooling.com. Matt Shaw, Kevin, His last 15 games, he's got a 936 OPS with 4 home runs. You bump it back to his last 30 games. He has an 899 OPS with 8 home runs. You saw him, ripping home runs. And I really can't express how impressed I am with him. And that was part of my thing with like, I don't know how I feel about moving him in the lineup, whatever. For him to go through all of this as a 23-year-old, a rookie who shot through, the minor league system, didn't spend a ton of time down there, called up, breaks camp with the team, spectacle in Tokyo, the Japan series, and then struggles, sent down, comes back up, struggles, working, like I said, taking that Yankees series off to work on his swing, making all these adjustments amid really loud discussions that the Cubs had to make a trade at the deadline to basically take his job and turn him into maybe a super utility man, right? And all he has done is essentially carry the offense. It is
prove
really
everybody wrong.
impressive. And when you look toward the future, right, it matters a lot. And of course, him keeping this up for the 2025 season goes a long way to keeping things on the right track. But at the same time, like it's also a big deal. You got a young player. And also that's not even mentioning how good he looks on defense. Just a really spectacular turnaround for Matt Shaw. And I can't give him enough credit for what must have been a really difficult set of like mental exercises to go through to get there.
Yeah, I was really hoping Brian Hayes would be traded to the American League at the deadline, because I think if it's not for him, Matt Shaw probably wins a Gold Glove at third base this year. He's going to be right up there in the voting. He's one of the best defensive third basemen in all of baseball, and has been every opportunity he's had at the big league level here, even in the couple stints that he's gone up and down. Each time he's been up here, the defense has just popped. The new update to Matt Shaw's profile that I was not anticipating getting this good this fast is the slug. He's got a higher slugging percentage than Shohei Ohtani since the All-Star break. The All-Star break was a month ago. That's pretty good sample size at this point. He's, I think, yesterday, and he had another double today, so I don't know what that did. I don't have the updated one, but yesterday, the slugging percentage was just shy of 800 since the break, and that would be second best in baseball. So the slug is what has popped. That's the one thing where I tip my cap to a young player for being able to figure out all that amongst everything else, like you said. Now, I know I don't want to be the lineup guy, so I'm just going to hit this quick. It's malpractice to bat him ninth right now, though. It does not mean that he's going to continue the rest of the year on this tear. He's not. He's a 23-year-old hitter. We're watching a 23-year-old hitter in Pete Armstrong go through peaks and valleys. He's going to go hit another valley at some point. But in this moment in time, when he has an OPS over 1,000 in his last 7 games, he's putting the ball over the fence. He's reaching base. He's taking walks. There is no reason for him to be batting ninth, because today was a perfect example. Game tying run on second base. He's left in the on-deck circle behind a bat right now who has consistently failed with runners in scoring position in Dansby Swanson all year. So I think at this moment, if you are Matt Shaw, continue to do what you do. If you're telling Craig, hey, I'm comfortable in the spot, leave me in this spot, again, that could be a conversation they're having. I would doubt that it is. Knowing Matt Shaw, I'm sure he wants to.
Probably not. There. Yeah.
There's probably, and this is not us calling or me calling for Matt Shaw to be the leadoff hitter of the two. No, he's not there yet. He doesn't take enough walks, doesn't see enough pitches. But he should be getting more at-bats in games when everybody else is just riding the struggle bus. It doesn't have to be that way forever, but in the short term, it makes the most sense to have him batting a little bit more, moving him up a couple more slots.
Yeah.
He's tearing the cover off the baseball right now.
And I think that goes a lot to when, some folks say they just want Counsell to do something, right? And they have shifted the lineup around a little bit, but I think that's one of those areas. Again, I would understand at least if they were like, hey, keep the pressure off. You're finally getting this clicking. Leave it alone, like they did with Pete. And like, there will come a time where we pull that trigger to move you up and put more on your plate. But as the team is scuffling badly on offense, I would be fine with that. And yeah, I see like Bobby Blanco in our YouTube chat. Shaw could hit fifth. Like that's where Owen was hitting today. Like, yeah, I got no problem giving that a try. As long as when you try it, like just paying close attention. Like Shaw's thing is very mechanical. So don't let any of that pressure extend into changing what has now created some really good habits for him. But that's also, it's a tricky thing. Like you're squaring long term, short term. And we did deal with this sort of exact thing with PCA like in 23, where it was like, you want to be patient with a young guy and understand the situation you're throwing them into and all of the different nuances. But at the same time, like team needs to win. They're trying to hold on now to just a playoff spot. And sometimes that does need to take priority as long as you don't think it's going to create some sort of disaster. I see people talk.
That's why it'd be kind of fun to, push that button. The Cubs were, if you remember, early on this season, they were pretty aggressive with, DFAing Julian Merriweather pretty early on in the year, sending Nate Pearson back to Iowa, sending Luke Little back to Iowa after one. They were aggressive with the send-ups and the call-ups. I'd like that to continue. And I think they took their foot off the gas a little bit because everybody was hitting really well midsummer and everything was going great. And now that things have slowed down, everything is amplified. Every little mistake is amplified.
Yeah.
Fans are going to come at you and say, I want this guy here. Why isn't he here? Everything is amplified in moments of struggle. The truth is always somewhere in the middle. Is Matt Shaw deserving to hit higher than 9? I think so, but Greg may not think that way right now. There could be more. There could be more to it. I just think in the short term, with how aggressive they've been and the philosophy that they had early on in the year, I'd like that to continue. Especially with today, having Owen Caissie make his debut and bat fifth against Max Scherzer, a future first ballot Hall of Famer. That's aggressive.
I don't know that we'll spend too much time on it because I do want to talk about Cade Horton. But really, he doesn't end up getting the hit, but I thought Owen looked great and an incredible first swing. I mean, a guy makes that kind of catch, like, what are you going to do? But I thought he looked great and looked like you're coming back. If people want to see some big shakeup, right? Like, feel like tomorrow's a good time for it. Like, you're coming back from an international flight. You dropped the series. You got a day game at Wrigley Field. You know what? Like, put Matt Shaw and Owen Caissie 1-2 in the lineup for all I care. Like, switch it up for a day. Doesn't have to be a long-term thing, but let, some of these guys take a day off. I know Craig did that today with some of them on Thursday. We've seen him do it with Tucker recently, but just you can, for a game, screw it, and I do. And this is a more nuanced thing. And I do want to get to Cade Horton before we wrap up here. But I do like that Evil Wax brought up Kyle Tucker leading off. I do tend to think that the best version of this team is what we were seeing earlier in the year. If everyone is right, Ian Happ's your leadoff hitter. Kyle Tucker is number 2. Say is number 3 or Bush is number 4, depending on who's pitching and the handedness. But that, I think, is this team at its best, and everybody going right, it fits the best for me. But if this is like how Kyle Tucker is for a period more, especially if it's related to that injury and his ability to slug is affected by that, he still walks. Even when I was reading some of those bad numbers, he still had an over 340 on base percentage, which is low for him. But like, given that the average in that same time was 200, like 140 points better as your on base percentage, it's still really strong. And if the slug isn't there, he'd still be a guy who can see pitches and set the pace at the top of the lineup while you wait, I guess, to see if he starts looking more like himself. So I don't hate that idea. And treating it like, again, we don't know the injury situation. We don't know exactly if it's going to change or if it's just a slump, etc. But like, do you have to treat him right now in this moment as somewhat of a different player? But I also, understand your point earlier of like, if that's where he wants to hit and the best version of this team is him driving in runs, I get that too. But we only have 5 minutes left. So I do want to make sure we talk about Cade Horton and continue highlighting some of this stuff. Another really, really good start on Wednesday in Toronto. I know folks frustrated like that he comes out, but the reality of,
Yeah.
they
There was no way he was going farther than what he did.
Yeah. We saw this, I think, in a previous outing as well. Like you get back to that middle of the order, some really talented hitters, and he's already at that pitch limit. You have to balance, as frustrating as it is sometimes. Like that was the right call in that situation, like matchup based. But you have to understand that they're balancing. Do they want to max him out for one start or like let him really cut it loose to finish off a great start? Or do they want to see if they can keep him fresh and healthy and hopefully taking the ball for this team in October? And that's what they're balancing, as frustrating as it is sometimes, right? But like that's what they're thinking of. And that is an organizational decision that is the best for Cade long term, and also to keep him out there for hopefully the rest of this season, however deep that is. But Cade Horton, I don't even know what you can say about him. His last 15 games, he's got a 2.89 ERA in those 15 starts, 81 innings, 27 walks to 62 strikeouts, a whip sitting around 1.19. His last 7 games, of course, you guys know that with the scoreless stretch, 7 starts, 40 innings, a 1.13 ERA, a sub 1 whip, 13 walks, 34 strikeouts. Again, similar to Matt Shaw, Cade Horton's been doing it for longer now, Kevin. But Cade Horton slotting into the rotation and continuing to grow and get better as a pitcher, just visibly. Of course, the numbers show that. But if you've been watching him, like his pitchability, right, looks so much better as the season has gone on. There's a lot of good developments that have come in this season. As frustrating as this stretch is, this has got to be the best one. He looks awesome, Kevin.
Can you imagine where this team would be if he was half of what he's been post All-Star break right now?
No.
They're probably fighting for a playoff spot. And I'm not exaggerating. Cade Horton he's had an unbelievable month here. Had an unbelievable July. So it's really been a month and a half where he turned it up. And I love, man, his post game. This was a couple of weeks ago. I think it was after the Cleveland game. It was probably, statistically his best outing of the year. He went 7 shutout innings. He's got, in 7 of his 15 or 16 starts this year, he's allowed no earned runs. So that alone is impressive. But I think it was after the Cleveland start or one of those in July where he goes, yeah, I mean, it's a good start, but like still not there. My stuff's not there. What? And then these last 2 starts, I was like, oh, that's what he means when the stuff just pops off the page. His last 2 starts, I mean, first pitch strike, on the black, low in the zone, up in the guy's hands. I mean, I love his demeanor up there. It is just a joy to watch him just dominate guys in some of the best lineups in the league. Let me keep in mind that Cade Horton now he set his career high 8 strikeouts yesterday against a team that has the fewest amount of strikeouts of any team in Major League Baseball. The next team closest to the Blue Jays in fewest strikeouts is like 50 behind them. They don't strike out. That's a relentless lineup that puts the ball in play. And Cade had more swing and miss yesterday.
Yep.
Just kept them off the scoreboard for 5-6. I don't think people realize, we don't hear about the Blue Jays a lot because they're in the American League and they play with the Yankees and Red Sox in that division. They're kind of always been the little brother of that division. Don't get it twisted. That team's a World Series contender. They have one of the best lineups in the game of baseball right now. And Cade Horton quite literally made them look like a little brother yesterday. His most dominant outing of the year by far yesterday. Looked phenomenal. His improvements have been great. I cannot wait to see what this guy looks like in a couple of weeks. And I'm thrilled that they are taking it the way that they are, because this dude looks like a top 10 draft pick. He's arrived, and not a moment too soon for this stretch run. They will need him. There's no doubt. They are going to need him in big games come down the stretch, and we should all be celebrating the player he's become.
Yeah, it's very exciting. More growth to come, going deeper in games, building up that durability, et cetera, but it's very exciting. So I think that's what we have for you. Again, frustrating stretch, incredibly frustrating. The offense needs to be better. They need to pick up their pitching staff. But a month and a half of baseball left, Cubs holding on to a playoff spot. Let's see if they can figure it out and hold on to it and play some October baseball. We'll talk to you again next Thursday. Check out the CHGO Cubs YouTube channel. We appreciate your support. And as always, go Cubs.
We all silly like the mayor.